Hello, today we are going to talk about what is social psychology, and for this we are going to answer some questions.
What is psychology?
It is a study of how individual or group behavior is influenced by behavior of others. These type of psychologists are interested in personality and social interactions. It popped in the 18th century and became formal in the 1930s.
What are the main functions of psychology?
The study of psychology has no one but various purposes. Psychology tries to understand the human psyche from a more scientific perspective. The study of psychology is commonly used to understand and help patients in need of psychological and emotional help. In addition to these core functions, psychology plays a crucial role in mental health conditions, offering therapeutic intervention and promoting personal development. Combining scientific research with a practical application, psychology not only addresses disorders but also enables overall well-being and insights into human behavior.
Where is psychology normally practiced or performed?
Practice psychology can be performed in a series of different contexts, though all of them are within the medical and the scientific field. While psychological practices may occur in clinical settings such as hospital and private practices, they can also take place in educational environments, research institutions, and community organizations. Each context provides a unique opportunity for the psychologist to assess, to diagnose, and to be able to treat a patient, and also to advance in the learning of human behavior and mental process.
Experiment Little Albert. John B. Watson wanted to demonstrate that human emotions, such as fear, could be conditioned through learning. The purpose of the experiment was to show that fear is a learning response and not as something innate. In this experiment, Watson and Rainer used a baby known as Little Albert. Initially, Albert was not afraid of certain stimuli, such as a white mouse. Then, every time they showed him the mouse, they made a loud noise hitting a metal bar, which scared the baby. After several repetitions, Albert began to associate the white mouse with the noise and showed fear only when he saw the mouse, without the noise being present. The result of the experiment suggested that emotional responses could be conditioned. Albert developed a phobia not only to the mouse, but also similar objects, such as a rabbit, which is known as generalization of a stimuli. Although the experiment itself focused more on behavior and classical conditioning, the principles of how humans can be influenced by the experiment, experiences, and external stimuli are relevant in social psychology. Social learning and the development of emotional responses can be affected by social context and interactions with others. For example, the way a person learns to react emotionally to certain stimuli can be influenced by society, social norms, and social interactions. Choose the context of emotional conditioning.
Stanford Prison Experiment, 1971, directed by psychologist Philip Zimbardo. This experiment sought to explore how people adapt to roles of power and subordination in a stimulated prison environment. The objective of this experiment was to investigate how normal people would behave when they were assigned roles of guards and prisoners in a stimulated prison situation. Zimbardo wanted to observe whether good individuals would behave in a cruel or abusive manners under these conditions of power and authority, and whether the prisoner would accept a submission situation. 24 male university students were selected, considered mentally healthy and stable, of which 12 were randomly assigned the role of guards and the other 12 the role of prisoners. A simulated prison was created in the basement of the Stanford Department of Psychology. The experiment was planned to last 2 weeks, but it stopped after only 6 days due to serious psychological effects it was generating. As the experiment progressed, the guards began to adopt increasingly authoritarian and abusive behaviors, while the prisoners showed signs of emotional distress, anxiety, and submission. As a result, many guards became extremely sadistic, imposing humiliating and degrading punishments on the prisoners, such as sleep deprivation and solitary confinement, although not all the guards participated in abuses. Most did not intervene to stop them, and on the other hand, the prisoners showed signs of depression, anxiety, and learned defenselessness. Some began to suffer serious emotional crisis, and one of them had to be released from this experiment only after 2 days. The experiment showed how quickly people can conform to social roles and act in extreme ways, even in team-leading situations. The results suggest that the situation and the assigned social role can have a significant impact on behavior, and that the abuse does not always come from evil people, but from people in poorly structured situations. This study shows how the pressure of environment and authority can lead to behavior that goes against personal moral values. The findings of the experiment are fundamental to understanding how power structures and extreme social content, such as those found in prisons or oppressive systems, can lead to abuse or power and dehumanization.
Bubble Doll Experiment. The Bubble Doll experiment by Albert Bandura demonstrated that children can learn aggressive behaviors by observing others, without the need for direct reinforcement. In the study, 72 children aged between 3 to 6 years old were divided in 3 groups. The first one observing an adult acting aggressively toward a bubble doll, the second observing a non-aggressive behavior, and the third one observing no model at all. The children who witnessed the aggressive behavior imitated it, especially when the model was male. Bandura concluded that learning can occur through observation, even without direct interaction. In 1963, he added artificial models and found similar results. This experiment is fundamental because it introduced the concept of social learning, which explains how people learn by observing others without needing rewards or punishments. It also showed the influence of media and behavior and changed the understanding of how social interaction and role models shape our actions, making it key in the field of social psychology.